What's up, everybody? Renfail here. Hope you're enjoying your day. We're back again for another Lord of the Rings online gameplay guide. And once again, we're back with a beginner's guide. This time around, we're talking tailoring, which is one of the crafting vocations that you can take for your characters here in Lord of the Rings Online. Now, if you've not watched my previous beginner's guide to crafting in general, I would urge you to check that out in the LOTRO playlist so that you kind of get the basics if you haven't already done so. If you haven't, it's not a big deal. We'll kind of talk about some of those things in this video. But specifically, I want to talk about why I think you should pick tailoring as your first vocation, why I think it's the easiest to pick up if you're going to be specifically exploring the game and sort of looking to craft things along the way. And also if you like to make your character look cool and do a little bit of customization, make yourself some cloaks, along the way. I think the tailor is a great option for new players for a variety of reasons, which we're going to be talking about in today's video. But before we do, this is the prerequisite part where I say, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update and so that you always get the latest videos delivered to you when they go live. Don't forget we have a Discord as well. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the actual tailoring profession. Now, if you remember from the overview guide we did on crafting in general, everything in Lord of the Rings Online is broken down into vocations, meaning there is your crafting vocation, and then there's generally 2 harvesting skills associated with that. That's a general rule. It's not necessarily 100% true for every vocation, but as a general rule, that's true. One of the reasons that tailoring is so easy for players right out of the gate is because you don't actually have to do any harvesting for it. I think pretty much every single other, tailor or crafting profession in the game requires you to harvest some type of material from a node. So if you needed, metal for either smithing or jewel crafting, you would need to go to a node, harvest that from the node, bring it back, refine it, then use it in your recipes. Same thing woodworking. You have to find the wood, harvest the wood, bring it back, refine it, etc. Well, with the tailoring profession, you get hides just from killing monsters. So as you go through the world and you're fighting, lions and tigers and bears, oh my! But seriously, bears, wolves, boars, deer, all the various denizens of Middle Earth, the wildlife, those are going to directly drop the hides that you need to refine in order to actually make tailoring recipes. Now, everything in the game, doesn't matter what profession it is, relies upon a combination of those harvested and or dropped materials with a combination of store-bought materials. This is no different. If you go in to look at a given recipe, say for, let's look at a lower tier cloak. You need brushed medium leathers for the heavy quilted cloak. Brushed medium leathers, glazed medium leathers, and bolts of linen cloth. So the leathers you're going to make, but the bolts of linen cloth you have to buy from the broker. Now, where do you get the leathers? Again, the leathers come from hides, which you get from killing monsters. So if you don't want to do any harvesting whatsoever, this is a great profession. The explorer vocation is great to take because it has that tailoring as the primary craft, along with forestry and prospecting, which we'll talk about here in a second. You don't actually need those 2 if you're only going to focus on the tailor component because you're going to get the hides you need from killing mobs. But a bonus to having a yeoman or an explorer, it's not yeoman, it's the explorer here in this game, is because you get access to forestry and prospecting. So forestry is part of what you'll be using to refine hides. If you look at like we're in the Eastman tier right at the moment, you can either refine leather, which are the hides you get from mobs, or you can refine wood. Now, I don't use wood on this character. The yeoman that I was speaking about earlier, I think is the one that uses wood because he makes bows and stuff. So my woodworker is the one who I will send all the wood to. Similarly, I don't need any of the ore and metal that I'm going to get when I'm out running around exploring in the world. But by having forestry and prospecting, I can mine and I can get wood for all of my other crafters, or I can choose to sell it on the market. I could sell the ore, sell the wood on the market, and use that money to buy the hides that I'm going to need to fully master my tailoring profession. Because while you are going to get enough hides leveling up to sort of progress through the tiers of crafting, if you want to master each one of the tiers like I have here, where you're doing both tiers of each um, uh, uh, leveling tier. That's not the way to say it. How do I need to say this? There's two stages of each tier in Lord of the Rings Online. There's the basic version, which is currently what we're working on, the basic mastery, and then after that, you have, well, there's proficiency and mastery. Thank you. I should have just done hovers to do the tooltips because I'd forgotten what they were called. You have your basic proficiency, which is the first tier, and then you have your mastery, which is the second tier. You will definitely get enough hides just playing the game and progressing through the game to do your basic proficiencies for each tier. But if you want to master each tier, you will need to either grind out killing mobs to get lots and lots of hides or buy them off the broker. So these are things to think about, beyond just looking at what you need for tailoring. And one of the reasons why I think as the explorer, having the forestry and prospecting behind you allows you to harvest things as you go along and supplement your own adventuring with additional coin, or use it for your other crafties like I do, because I have one of pretty much everything. I think the only one I don't have is a scholar these days. But yeah, anyway. Now, one of the questions that a lot of people ask me is, should I start worrying about crafting from level 1? Or should I wait until I'm max level and worry about crafting when I'm at max level? Now, the answer to that actually varies by game. In a game like Star Wars: The Old Republic, where you're using crew slots, you're using your companions to do the harvesting for you, and having the most amount of companions being, the objective. When you first start out that game, you don't have any companions. And when you first get a couple of companions, you're going to want those companions with you, not out harvesting. Or doing missions and things. So it's always better in Star Wars: The Republic, I have found, to wait until you're a little higher level and you have access to a wide variety, like say 6 different companions, because then you can send those companions out on the missions while you're adventuring with one of those companions as your sidekick. That's not necessarily the case here. I think in Lord of the Rings Online, if you're going to be doing any of the crafting professions, you should be doing them as you're leveling up. And there's a variety of reasons for that. One is the fact that you can make yourself good gear that's going to be better than anything you're going to find from the quests, hands down. Especially when we're talking the crit version of the gear you can make. There's the normal version, which is going to be on par with the quested gear that you're going to find. And then there's the crit versions, or the one-off recipes as well, which are going to give you items that are way beyond the strength and power of anything you're going to find from quests, until you get to the like the epic book quests and the rewards from those, especially when you get into Moria and you start getting like, light blue gear and purple gear that's better than purple, so you start getting some really good gear from those quests, but that's much deeper into the game. So like the level 1 to 50 crafting is, absolutely where it's at, and especially at the end game as well, crafting is also where it's at, making these master crafted items. So sort of on either end of the spectrum, there's a couple of reasons why you would want to level up along the way, and that's because you can give yourself good gear, whether it's in the early stages of the game or at the end game, where I think pretty much crafted gear is better than anything out there other than rated gear. So it kind of behooves you to level it up as you go along. But the other reason I think it's really important to level up as you go along is because this is both for the mobs you're going to be killing and any nodes you might be harvesting for like forestry and prospecting, which you might be doing if you have the explorer vocation. Everything in this game is tier related, so it's not like other games where, like, I'm looking at, like, say EverQuest 2, where you can go to a high level zone and start trying to harvest that node. Now you might fail because your skill's not very high, but you will eventually be able to harvest a high level thing from that node, even though you're like a level 1 character. Here it is still tier based, meaning, and I'm just throwing out some arbitrary numbers here, but like tier 1 resources are only going to be found in level 1 to 10 zones. Tier 2 resources are going to be found in the 10 to 20 zone. Tier 3 is, it's so on and so forth, 20 to 30. So if you're looking to get the ingredients for the recipes that are going to be helping you now where you're currently at in your level, that's going to be wherever you're leveling. It's the quests that are on par with your level. That's where you're going to be finding the resources to make the items that are for your level. That's just the easiest way to think about it in Lord of the Rings Online when it comes to crafting and harvesting. Um, so if you want to get the hides from monsters that are going to give you level 20 gear, you got to be killing, you know, wolves and bears and boars that are dropping the level 20 hides. They're going to get you the gear that you want for that tier. It's just, and it's broken down pretty much everywhere you go. You can look at your, light leather is, your first tier is light hides, and then from there you get into medium hides, and then you get into expert, which is sturdy hides, and then artisan is pristine hides. Master is exceptional hides, and so those are some of the naming terminology that you're going to find, but they're always tiered. I think they even tell you when you hover over. Yeah, exceptional hide item level 45. So it needs to be a minimum of a level 45 monster to drop an exceptional hide. A sturdy hide is going to drop from monsters that are level 25. So 25 to 34 are sturdy hides, and then getting into pristine leather, that would be 35 to 44, and then 45 to 54. So those are the tiers of hides you're thinking about. So if you're looking at creating gear for your character on level, I think it's a good idea to just start at the beginning and level it up as you go, so that you're always making gear for yourself, especially when you're talking about crit gear. Hey everyone, Renfail here with the commercial part of the video where I say, hey, if you like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. And thanks to all of our supporters are here on YouTube and over on Patreon, our highest members, our guild champions, Crazy's Relative, Remy D here on YouTube. And don't forget, if you want to support, it's really easy. You can do the memberships below, the Adventurers Guild, 3 different tiers. There's also the super thanks on any uploaded video or YouTube short that you find. There's also, of course, the super chats and stickers that you could do on any live stream or premiere, and the Patreon page if you want to dive into the fantasy world that I have with my brother and my wife, which is a tabletop game, a point-and-click adventure game, and a fantasy book series. All are great ways to keep this channel going and me going full-time. Thanks again for those of you who support. Let's get back to the video that you're watching now. Now, I actually wanted to include some real-time crafting in this episode to show you guys one of the reasons I think it's really cool to level up your crafting and do tailoring in particular. So one of the reasons I love tailoring is because you can do a lot of cosmetic gear. It's stat gear, but it also can be used cosmetically. So we're talking light armor, medium armor, and it's the only crafting class in the game that can make cloaks. And I happen to have found a cloak that actually looks really good with my current armor set, which is the Cloak of the Wold. So we can click on this. Let's go ahead and reset that. So this is my current cloak, which doesn't look too bad, Turn my character in here, get some better lighting on it. It doesn't look too bad for this, but it's not the perfect cloak for this outfit, and I've known that for a while now. But I'm not, I'm not too picky about it. But the Ardent Cloak of the Wold actually has the same coloring as my gear set, and I really like it. So we're going to be attempting to make this morning. Now, I've already pre-done the recipe components, so I don't have to make those. But if I were to do this, you'll notice that this particular recipe requires brushed Rittermark leathers, which I've already created because I have the Rittermark leathers over here. We'll just make another one just so you can see what the process looks like. But these are from Rohan. This is where I'm currently leveling. This is the current content for me. So I would harvest that, and then it said I would need a piece of oak bark to get the crit version. And I already have made a few of those. I have more, but that requires oak sapwood branches, which I have, so I've already refined those down. And from here, I just need to figure out which version of the cloak I want to. Now, in some cases, we're looking at versions that look different. In this case, the cloak looks the same no matter what. But if I were to go over to, say, the pristine armor, and we'll show the front of this real quick, and we say, let's look at this. That's the regular version. This is the dwarf make version, and this is the elven version. They all look different. So it's very important when you have something that has tiers, make sure to cycle through and and get the look that you want, because the first one you're looking at might not be the one it makes if it has multiple tiers that you can choose from or multiple outputs that you can choose. So please make sure to double and triple check your output before you make the recipe to ensure that you're getting the thing that you want. But in this case, I want to make the Cloak of the Wold, so I'm assuming maybe the stats are a little different. This is might primarily. This is agility primarily. Okay, so this is so it changes the main stat. And that's will, and then this is vitality. So I'm gonna go with the agility one since I'm a ranger. It's actually, the regular version is not better than the one I'm wearing, but obviously we're gonna be shooting for the crit version, which is gonna be better than the version that I'm wearing, and it will replace what I currently have, which is, as you notice here, I'm wearing the Eastman Cloak of Agility, and we're going to be crafting the Supple Gifted Cloak of the Wold is what we're shooting for. Now, in order to get the crit version, I have to use the crit item. I need to make sure that I have this box selected so that I'm using the item. I now have a 60% chance. Without it, I have a 25% chance to crit. With it, I have a 60% chance. I don't have a if you had, this is the universal optional crafting ingredient, which gives me a guaranteed critical success. Those are hard to come by. In any case, I have a 60% chance to make this. So let's see if I get it in one of 3 shots here, because I can make how many of these can I make? Only one for now. I need to make some more maps. So here we go. I might not make it the first time. Fingers crossed. We did! So, one of the cool things when you make a magical item, not in the early stages of the game, but as you get leveled up, you'll eventually be able to name your items, which is really cool. So I'm going to put a name here. I'm going to call it, what do we want to call it? Let's just, I really don't, I'm at a blank for a name right now. This is bad. Rain Shedder. This is a horrible name, but let's just say, call it Rain Shedder. And it's done. So now when we open that up in our inventory and we inspect this cloak, or just hover over it, Supple Gifted Cloak. Let me close down all these windows so we can see that. Supple Gifted Cloak of the Wold. Name, Rain Shedder. Crafted by Renfill. Bind and equip. Item level 84. Light armor. Those are the stats. Much better than the one I'm wearing. So we're going to go ahead and put that on. Now, it's not going to immediately change, I don't think, because I might have to put it in my cosmetic slot. So, yeah, I'm going to have to pull it out and put it in the cosmetic slot first. Go into my cosmetic outfit 2. Turn this around so we can see it. I want to drop the cloak over there, and then I'm going to re-equip it as well. All right, perfect. Now I have a brand new cloak, which, as you can see, better matches my gear. Anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. That's it for today's Lord of the Rings Online gameplay guide here. Another beginner's guide into crafting. If you like what you saw here today, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Until then, stay safe. Happy gaming.